Hello there. Have you ever wondered if the big bad wolf from Little Red Riding Hood was truly evil? Tonight, let's become the wolf and search for the truth together. You awaken in the body of the wolf. The first thing you feel is regret. The world sees you as the predator, the devourer of innocence, the snarl in the night. But reality is softer, lonelier, filled with years of silence and sorrow around you. The world flickers. You wake in a grove of black-needled pines, the fog trembling between twisted trunks. The scent of damp fur and moss rot lingers. Beside you, a red ribbon, curled around the claw of your paw like it was once loved. And within you, a name waiting to be remembered. So, before you drift into this tender darkness, remember to like and subscribe to Whisper Audio. If you truly want to hear the forgotten tales I whisper here each night, tell me, where are you listening from tonight? Now, dim the lights, let the soft winds hum around you, and let me take you to the tale never told, the furriches. Not from fleas or brambles, but from remembrance, each strand, once soft and fine as ash blonde hair, feels like a thread pulled taut between two selves, the one you were and the one you became. Your paws flex against the soil, half expecting fingers, half expecting fire. You exhale. It fogs the air like memory. They said you were born a beast, teeth first and howl-bound. But that isn't true, is it? No. You remember. You were a boy once, and you were cold. The forest had always been a place of hunger. The villagers feared it, yes, but they also fed it with stories, with sacrifices, with silence. Your mother had warned you not to stray too far past the stone path where the mushrooms bled red. But she was gone by then. Fever, winter, the coughing that sounded like dry leaves. You went into the woods to find her, the one they said could raise the dead, or at least stop the rot. They never said her name aloud, only muttered witch or wolf wife, depending on the season. You found her. You gave her your name, your real one, the one your mother gave you, swaddled in that half-rotted cradle by the hearth. She took it, wrapped it in ivy, and said, "Names are seeds. Child, be careful what you water." That night, you dreamed of fur. You dreamed of running. You dreamed of a hunger that wrapped around your ribs like a belt and tugged. And when you woke, the belt was gone. The woods had become your ribs. The sky, your ceiling. The girl in the red hood, not yet born. You walk now, not quite limping. But the gait is wrong, too heavy in the shoulders, too silent in the feet. You pass a glimmering pool, and for a moment, only a moment, you see the face beneath the fur, eyes soft, chin trembling. The boy. But then the surface shatters, rippled by the sound of a raven's scream. They called you monster. But you had only asked for warmth. You smell bread. Somewhere not far, oak smoked and crusty, wrapped in herbs. Someone's supper. Your stomach groans. Not from hunger, not really. That part of you has long since become background noise, like bird song or guilt. Still, you follow it, step by step. Nose low, in a clearing, you find the offering. A ritual, still observed, even now, on a stone. Bread, cheese, one black feather, and a cup of mulled wine gone cold. It's not for you. Not exactly. It's for the old gods, the ones who roam with teeth. But the line has blurred, hasn't it? You sit, you eat, And somewhere in the back of your throat, the taste of cinnamon brings back her hands, your mother's, wringing out your cloak, whispering lullabies in a language you've half forgotten. You almost weep, but wolves don't cry. The moon rises. You tilt your head toward it, unsure if it will answer. Long ago, you howled as if it might, as if the thing that took your name might give it back. But it didn't. It only watched, cold, constant, silver, and silent. You hated it for that. You still do. Yet tonight, it feels softer, like something waiting, like a throat that wants to whisper back. Your fur bristles, a sound, not prey, not predator, a child's footstep, slow and certain, somewhere behind the birch grove. You don't move, not yet. Instead, you remember the warmth of hands in yours, a vow sworn in broken Latin, the price you were told would save you, and you wonder, was it truly you who asked to become the wolf? Or was the beast already inside her hands, just waiting for a body to bury it in? The red ribbon tightens around your paw, the forest that forgot your name, the child's footsteps retreat, soft as mouse prints on loam, and you do not follow, not yet. The forest sways around you, slow as breath, the kind taken between verses of a lullaby. Pine and rowan trees twist upward, their limbs clutching at the fog like half-formed prayers. Your ears twitch to the rhythm of moss drip and owl wing, but no names call you, not even your own. You rise from the stone, the meal still warm in your gut, the ritual still humming low in your bones. A kindness, you suppose, if one believes in the kind of gods who remember to keep feeding their monsters or forgiving them. The trees do not speak your name anymore. But there was a time they did. You walk deeper. Each step presses into the mud, uncurling stories beneath your paws. A firelit dance here, a bone burial there, an iron horseshoe nailed to an ash tree in warning. Once, they said the forest would protect those who walk gently. But even you, in your quietest moments, never walked gently. You had reason. You come to a clearing shaped like a tear, wide at one end, narrow at the other, where stones form a crescent shrine. Dead leaves nestle in the offering bowls. Wax drips down old tree bark like tears turned solid. Something aches behind your eyes. This was where you knelt years ago. Lifetimes. In a boy's body, still raw from winter and grief. You remember kneeling at this very shrine. And the woman who stood across from you. She wore no crown, no cloak, no thorns. Just a dress the color of rain and a mouthful of names. She asked for yours, and you gave it. Willingly, they would say. But they did not see your ribs. You were starving, not just for food, but for continuance. To not become another boy buried beneath the frost. To keep some part of your mother's lullaby alive in your throat. To still matter. So you let her plant her words inside your mouth like seeds. You let her press her fingers into your chest and carve a name out of your heart. You let her shape your soul into something sharper, darker, more durable. Beast, yes. But beasts live. Boys, sometimes, do not. She took your name and replaced it with silence. You could howl. You could growl. You could hunt. But speak. No. You had no voice to say. I remember who I was. The ritual stained your skin before it ever changed your shape. You feel it still, burned beneath the fur. in the spot just below your ribs, a mark no one sees, but always itches near moonrise. And here it is again, the soft hum of that old chant, low, beneath the wind, beneath the crows, in the hush of twilight. The forest has not forgotten, not entirely. You kneel, out of instinct or habit or guilt. You press your claws into the dirt and remember the words she made you repeat. In fur I trust, in fang I vow. Let the boy be beast, and time allow. Time allowed. Too much. Perhaps, in the far tree line, a red flicker moves. Not fire, but fabric. The girl again. Not yet near, not yet afraid. She does not know who you are, or perhaps she does. Children inherit old stories, like curses, like songs. She will be told, stay on the path, don't stray, don't speak to wolves. But she will speak, and you will listen, and something will change. Or maybe it won't, not yet. You move again, this time westward, where the roots are thicker, the shadows older. This part of the forest grows differently, coiling inward, as if trying to remember what it once held. You pass a tree carved with runes older than your birth. One symbol stands out, a curve, a circle, a break. It was part of your real name, the boy's name. You trace it, your paw shakes. From the hollow of the tree, a scent rises, not blood, not rot, but honey, thick, rich, and tinged with thyme. Your breath hitches. You remember her, the one with the red ribbon. Not the girl, no, her mother, the midwife, the one who once kissed your brow when fever broke and whispered, you poor sweet thing, you don't need to be afraid anymore. She had hair like storm clouds and hands that smelled of flower and lavender. She was the last human who touched you without flinching, and she knew. She knew what you were becoming. She never said a word. She simply fed you. Soup, bread, stories. And once, when your claws drew blood from the doorframe, she wrapped them in cloth and said, you are still someone's child. You loved her. Maybe that's why you never came back after the last winter. Maybe you were afraid she'd see what you had finally become. Maybe you didn't want to see the disappointment behind her gentleness. But the girl in the red hood, her daughter, walks the forest now and wears the same ribbon you once used to mark your place in the book of prayers. She kept by the hearth, the ribbon that now winds around your paw. You wonder, did she give it to you? Or did you steal it long ago from the table where she set down her sorrow and trusted you not to take more? The wind hushes. You move again, slower now, toward the edge where forest meets path. Not to hunt, not to watch, but to remember. She walks the forest like it still belongs to her. Bold steps, red hood, a wicker basket swinging low and careless, a storybook silhouette against the green-gray mist. You stay hidden. You've learned how. Even the leaves hush for you now. Even the birds forget to cry. She hums a tune, not a lullaby, but close. You recognize the rhythm. Your lullaby, warped now, half forgotten, twisted into something new. A girl's version of a mother's memory, passed down like an heirloom, worn and softened by time. She is not afraid, not yet. And oh, how cruelly familiar that is. You were not afraid either. The first time you entered the woods, you came with good intentions, good questions, the kind that echo louder than hunger. But the woods do not care for good boys, only obedient ones, or clever ones, or those who are willing to pay with their shape. She hums, skips, pauses to pluck a mushroom and tuck it behind her ear. You breathe in, not just her scent, but her bloodline. Yes, you remember her mother. Before the gray streaks, before the fever, before the child, she was just another girl with calloused palms and a too big heart. The kind of woman who touched the world like she wanted to fix it. The kind who tucked broken birds back into nests and whispered apologies to flowers she stepped on. She had once braided your hair. You remember that. Human hands, gentle and patient, tugging through tangled strands as you sat near her hearth, face flushed with shame, chest hollow with loss. You hadn't spoken in days, not since the change had started. Not since the first claw broke skin. But she saw the boy still hiding inside the eyes of the beast. She hummed, just like her daughter does now, and said, "You're still you. You're still someone." That night, you dreamt of a path, one lined with red thread, leading back to the boy you used to be. You never found it. Now, her daughter walks that same thread, careless, unaware, and something ancient inside you stirs, not hunger, yearning, not for flesh, not for fear, but for recognition. You take a step, then another. The girl stops, turns, eyes like river stones, wide and curious. "You're not in the story," she says. The words hit harder than any arrow ever could. You flinch. She doesn't. Her eyes narrow, thoughtful. You're supposed to be big and bad and teeth. You say nothing. You can't. The curse still clutches your tongue, tangled in old oaths and ash. She steps closer, tilts her head. "You're sad. You don't move." She kneels, basket resting on her knee, and offers a slice of bread. Soft, warm, smells like rosemary and clove. Your paw shakes. Once, long ago, you were fed just like this, by a woman with flour-dusted fingers and a voice like cracked honey. A woman who saw your claws and still called you dear. A woman who might have been your friend, your mother, your redeemer. If only you hadn't been afraid to stay. You lower your head. Take the bread. Chew slowly. She watches. "You don't want to hurt anyone," she says softly. It is not a question, and you want to cry. But wolves don't cry. Instead, you place something at her feet. A gift of sorts. The red ribbon. The same one her mother gave you decades ago, when you sat weeping behind her cottage and begged the wind not to take her. You stole it. Then, you meant to return it. But time shifted. You changed, and it wrapped itself around your guilt like a bandage. Now, it is hers again. She touches it gently, and for a flicker of a moment, you swear she remembers. Not the facts, no, but the feeling. The heat of an old kindness, still glowing under the ash. She stands. "I'm going to see grandmother," she says. She's sick, but not dying. Yet. You nod, the motion slow, deliberate, almost human. "Will you walk with me?" she asks. You don't know if she's offering safety or companionship. Maybe both. Or maybe she sees something in you the world forgot. You follow. The path winds through thicker fog now. Birds scatter. A deer watches from the thicket, breath ghosting in the cold air. The forest hushes, and still the girl talks about mushrooms and dreams and the way the stars blink when you lie on your back long enough. She tells you about the miller's boy who smells like pickles, and the book she's reading about flying horses, and how she sometimes talks to trees even though they never answer. You listen, and for the first time in years, you want to answer, but the curse claws at your throat. The spell remains. Still, she walks beside you, unafraid. You wonder, is it because she doesn't know who you are, or because, somehow, she does? The cottage is smaller than you remember. You reach it, just as the mist thins to pale silver, revealing its moss-laced roof and crooked stone chimney. Time has gnawed at the doorframe, softened the wood, scattered vines along the shuttered windows like fingers reaching inward. Smoke curls from the chimney in slow spirals, a sign of life, yes, but faint. The girl steps onto the threshold. "I'll be quick," she says. She sleeps most days now. "I'll bring her the broth and the letters." Letters. You almost ask who wrote them, almost. But the question swells and dies in the throat you no longer own. She disappears inside, her red hood vanishing like a candle snuffed by wind. You remain outside. You always have. There's a bench you remember, a quiet place beneath a bent hazel tree where you once watched the stars, where the woman, her, sat and brushed your fur with slow, steady hands. Still someone's child, she said. You believed her. For one night, in the hush between wolf and boy, you let yourself believe that nothing had truly been lost, that this body was not a prison, but a coat, something you could take off when the danger passed. The danger never passed. The girl's voice drifts through the cracks in the door. Soft laughter, then silence, then something else. Coughing, harsh, wet, wounds without teeth. You step closer, not out of hunger, but grief. The scent hits you before you see her. Old thyme, worn linen, the metallic sharpness of fever, and something else, familiar. You peer through the narrow window. She lies in the bed now. This once bold woman who made you soup, who spoke to owls like neighbors and hung charms above every doorway. Her hair is thinner, her eyes sunken, but her mouth twitches upward at the sight of her granddaughter. You flinch, because for one brief moment, you imagine she sees you beyond the glass, that she recognizes the shape behind the trees, that she remembers the boy with the wild heart and sharper teeth, who used to sit at her hearth with trembling hands and guilt stitched beneath every rib. And perhaps she does, because she closes her eyes, then murmurs something the wind catches. He was never cruel. The girl turns. Who? But the old woman does not answer. A silence seeps between the branches. You pull back. That name, the one buried beneath fur and fangs. It trembles closer now, like a bird fluttering near an open palm, not ready to land, but curious, familiar. You retreat into the tree line. Wait. Something inside aches like a wound long, hidden, not physical, deeper. The ache of not being remembered, or worse, the ache of being remembered wrong. A snapping twig pulls your ears upright. The girl exits the cottage, slower now. Her hands tremble slightly as she adjusts the basket. She won't last the winter, she says aloud. To the trees. To you. You remain still. She keeps dreaming of someone. She adds, says he wore rags and teeth, says he was kind, You turn your head slightly. She looks directly where you hide. I think she means you. Your breath catches. She steps forward. Across the brittle leaves and old stone path, the mist presses low, wrapping around her ankles like clinging ghosts. She kneels again, not like a child, but like someone delivering something sacred. From the basket, she pulls a small jar, glass, sealed with wax, tied with twine, juniper, and rosemary. She says, "She used to rub it on your paws, didn't she? For the cold." You look down. The ache sharpens. You remember. Not just the scent, the feel, her touch, the way her hands cupped your paws like they weren't monstrous, but injured. You had limped in from the woods, frostbitten and bleeding, and she had whispered, "Hold still, darling. Let me fix what I can." You step forward, just enough for the girl to see your eyes. She doesn't flinch. Instead, she leaves the jar on the stone and rises. "Come back later," she says. I think she wants to see you. Before it's too late. You do not nod. You do not howl. You simply watch. She walks away. This time, slower, as though sensing the weight of the forest, as though the old stories trail her heels. The wind shifts, and you are alone again, but not entirely. You approach the jar, sit beside it, press your paw against the stone where it rests. The cold seeps into your bones, and so does memory. The last time you were here, truly here, was the night they came with torches. The night they called you demon, beast, curse. The night they burned her garden and dragged you from the shed, where you had tried to sleep, curled around your old ribbon and your older fears. She had stood in front of you, bare feet in the frost, and screamed, "He's just a boy." They didn't listen, so you ran, left the ribbon, left your name, left her, and she never called you back. But she waited, didn't she? Night falls like velvet soaked in ash. You return long after the sun slips behind the hills, when even the mist seems to have forgotten its shape. The path is softer now, padded by moss and memory. Each step aches, each breath drags something older up from the hollow beneath your ribs. The cottage waits, quiet, dim. A single candle flickers in the window, the same one she always lit when someone she loved was late returning. You wonder, is it for you? You circle the clearing once, twice. No dogs, no torches, just the hush of wind threading through the branches like a prayer half heard. The girl is gone, but she's left the door unlatched. You nudge it open. The scent strikes you first. Not the usual stew and herbs, but something sweeter. Beeswax, rosewater, faint tobacco, the smell of preparation, of endings. She lies in the bed, the blanket drawn to her chin, breathing, but shallow. Her hands rest atop the quilt, thin now, spotted with age, but still those same hands that once bandaged your leg, traced runes on your brow, fed you soup like love was a ritual. You enter, soft, careful, the way a child might approach a mother they haven't seen in years, unsure if they're remembered, unsure if they deserve to be. Her eyes open, and she does not scream, does not flinch, just looks. "Oh," she says, voice barely more than smoke. "You came." You nod. She smiles. It trembles. "I hoped you would. Before the frost takes me." You sit beside the bed. Your paws make no sound on the worn floorboards. Your shadow stretches long on the walls, a beast silhouette. But she sees something else. She always has. I kept it, she whispers. Then, with effort, she lifts something from beneath the pillow, a bundle of cloth, wrapped in care, faded with age. The ribbon, red, frayed, still faintly scented with wood smoke and clover. I found it the morning after, she says. I thought, maybe you'd left it as a goodbye, or maybe you'd meant to come back. You lower your head, press your snout against the edge of her blanket. You want to speak. I was a child. I was afraid. I didn't know how to stay. But all that escapes is a soft, broken sound. Something between a whine and a sob. She understands anyway. You never meant harm, she says. Not to me. Not to her. She coughs. It shudders. Through her, you flinch. She waves a hand weakly. I'm not afraid, she whispers. Not of death. Not of you. A pause. Then softer. But I am afraid she'll forget. You lift your eyes. She's brave, she continues. But stories are louder than truth. They will tell her you were wicked, that I died in fear, that her kindness was foolish. Her hand reaches out, brushes your ear, light as breath. Promise me, you won't let the forest have her. You press your forehead to her palm. Yes, you don't speak it. You are it. She closes her eyes again. Good, she whispers. Good, boy. And with that, her breathing slows, stops. You do not howl. You simply stay, curled beside her bed, as the candle burns low, as the night exhales. The wind picks up, rattles the eaves. Somewhere in the forest, an owl calls once, then falls. Silent. You rise. The house is still, but not empty. You pad to the hearth, sit before it. Watch the shadows flicker on the walls she once painted with sigils and drying herbs, and the soft chaos of someone who believed in more than survival. You remember the fire they set here, years ago, how they tried to purge what they feared, but they didn't destroy everything. Some things endure. The girl returns the next morning. She finds the door open, the candle burned down to a quiet stub, and you, waiting on the threshold, ribbon in your teeth. She sees her grandmother's face, sees how peaceful she looks, and then she sees you, really sees you. Something inside her cracks, not in fear, in grief, in understanding. She kneels. You step forward, bow your head and place the ribbon in her hands. She does not speak, not until she's wrapped it around her wrist and whispered, "Thank you." Then, finally, who are you to her? And you don't know if she means friend or protector or child or curse. So you simply press your snout to her palm, the way you once did when you were trying to be brave. She doesn't pull away. She lets you stay. Dawn arrives quiet as breath over frost. The girl wraps her grandmother's body in the old ritual shawl, the one embroidered with the spiral of seeds and moons. You help her gather the stones, not with hands, but with the quiet company of grief. Together, you stack them around the old ash tree where the herbs used to grow, where bees used to hum songs only she could hear. No fire, no coffin, only stones, salt, and silence. The girl says the words softly, ones she only half remembers, the rest filled in by instinct and love. Let the roots take what is kind. Let the worms forget what was cruel. Let her become light, or leaf, or echo. You sit nearby, unmoving. But within you, something shifts. She ties the red ribbon around the final stone, then turns to you. Will you come with me? You blink. I have to go back, she says, to the village. I think they need to know what she was, what you are. You tilt your head. She hesitates, then adds, not the old stories, not the ones that end with blood and teeth. A pause. But maybe the one that ends with truth. You want to believe her, want to follow, want to become something more than shadow and shame. But the forest tugs gently at your fur, reminding you it still holds the boy you were. So, instead of answering, you rise and walk, not away from her, but toward the place you buried yourself. The ruins are still there. The village chapel, long collapsed. The cellar beneath it, still damp with echoes. This is where they kept you once, between stone and prayer, where they carved sigils into the walls to bind the demon child, where they whispered, "He'll eat the sun if we let him live." You were 7. You hadn't even howled yet. But you had teeth and dreams, and they feared both. You returned now not for vengeance, but for your name. It lies in the dirt, somewhere near the old altar, beneath splinters of broken icons and the iron collar they left behind. You nose the earth gently, dig, paw, uncover what memory tried to protect you from. A rusted locket, inside, a piece of paper, worn soft as petals. It reads, Elias, the name your mother whispered before they took her. The name the witch called you, gently, like it still meant something. The name you tried to forget, because it hurt too much to carry alone. Elias. You whisper it now, not with a mouth, but with the pulse beneath your ribs. And the earth seems to listen, to exhale, to offer back the pieces you left here long ago. You do not become human, not exactly. But the fur feels lighter, the eyes softer. You remember how to walk without hiding, how to look without lowering your head. You return to the girl that night, find her lighting a candle at the grave. She doesn't startle when you approach. I hoped you'd come back, she says. You sit beside her. She holds out a scrap of parchment, something she's written. It's the start of a new version, she says. Not about the wolf who ate, but the boy who was taken, the woman who healed, the forest that remembers. You don't speak, but you nod. She rests, her head against your shoulder, and for a moment, not long, not loud, the world feels mended. You stay until the stars return, until the wind curls like breath across skin, until even the moon closes its eyes. And when she sleeps, you walk once more into the trees, not to vanish, but to guard, to guide, to remember, because someone must keep the truth warm through the winters. And now, you know your name. Now, you know your story, and it will not end in fear. Not this time. Asterisk. The night quiets, as if the earth itself holds its breath. You walk beneath the hush of stars, past the cairn and its ribbon, past the bones of stories once twisted into fangs. Each step takes you deeper, not into shadow, but into memories softened by moss and mercy. The forest no longer presses in. It parts for you, gently, as if it too has learned your name. You pass places you once avoided. The stream where the villagers dunked you in winter. The stump where your ribbon was nailed like a warning. The grove where you first found her gathering nettles under moonlight. Each one a wound, but each one also, now, a witness. Forgiveness is not a thunderclap. It's this, a slow exhale after years of holding your breath. You rest beneath the twisted oak, where the roots have always whispered. You curl into yourself, not to vanish, but to wait, not to hide, but to hold vigil for what remains. Because though the world moved on and painted your name in ash and teeth, you know better now. You were never the villain. Just a boy who wasn't believed. Just a child lost in the wrong story. And the girl, the one who dared to listen, will carry that truth onward. She will change the tale, teach others to see differently, to leave the ribbon, not the trap, to knock, not burn, to ask, not assume, and perhaps, someday, another boy with strange eyes and trembling hands will be spared the fire. Because of you. So rest now. The wind hums low, the trees bow slowly, and somewhere, far from the noise of fear and fairy tales, a candle glows on a windowsill, waiting just in case you ever wish to come home. And somewhere, under the roots of forgotten trees, the villain still waits in silence.